Man, oh man. So Ortiz, Hooker had a little fight yesterday. Before the fight, they had the weigh in. Ortiz was overweight. I think it was about point 0.6 pounds or something like that. I guess he came back later on and made weight. And saw a lot of excuses people were making about it. Like, oh, this is, somebody said, what they say? Oh, this is normal. This happens all the time and blah, 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 blah. Which would be fine if everybody was treated the same when it pertains to it. When Javante Tank Davis was going to miss his weight, then he comes back and makes his weight. Only missed weight one time actually. People want to talk about how he's unprofessional and things of that nature. When Adrian Broner misses it, people want to get on him about it as well. And others. But then when it pertains to other people, we want to make excuses. And I could understand what this excuse he make. He said that the scale, what quote that he was given wasn't calibrated, and that's why what happened. And I guess it's an excuse that would be fine if it wasn't for the fact that it happened. This is the third time that he's missed weight. One time, okay, cool. Second time, Third time, no. No, and especially when you have a history of missing weight, you definitely want to make sure everything's on point. And that part's not hard. You just, even when I buy a regular scale, that I'm going to use, the first thing I do, I get a 5 pound weight, I put on it, and I'll make sure, it's saying what it's supposed to be saying. So that's all BS. But anyway, just, be, when it pertains to these type of things, all it is that a lot of people want is just be equal in your assessment, as it happens to everybody. And as far as the fight is concerned itself, I guess it was an okay fight. Hooker is very long, very lanky, but I guess I don't know. He doesn't have that much power in his punches, and he doesn't know how to keep that separation between him and whoever he's facing. He threw a lot of jabs, though. He's throwing jabs. When he was throwing his jabs, it was kind of working. Ortiz has this thing where he keeps his high guard, keeps his hands just up in the air, and it just tries to just walk you down. That's basically what he was doing. He was just trying to walk the man down. And Hooker was getting into exchanges where he'll start banging out with Ortiz instead of trying to keep that distance, trying to stay that focus. He wants to scrap. He wants to brawl, but it's just a style that is not conducive to winning, when it comes to Hooker. But he kept getting caught up in it, and then he'll kind of go back to the jabbing, jabbing, jabbing. I think he should have went to the body a little bit more. That's one of the main things that I think he wasn't doing. Should have went to the body a little more and should have kept that mid-range. When he was in that mid-range distance, he was good. He caught him a couple of times, actually, moved his body a couple of times, but just no power into it. So Ortiz just kept going forward. Ortiz kept going forward, you know what I mean? Kept going to the body, kept going up top, and broke him down and eventually stopped him. Um, you know, he did what he was supposed to do. He went out there and he was victorious. Um, After the fight, you know, it was kind of weird. Like, he was talking. They were talking about him. Everybody that he's been talking about was there. He was talking a lot about Spence. He was talking a lot about Crawford. How he's ready for the Crawford fight and what he would do to Crawford. And he said after he beats Hooker and stops Hooker, he's gonna go right up into Crawford's face and you know demand a fight. He didn't do any of that stuff. When they were talking to him, it's like, oh man, if I get the fight, I believe I can do good with it. If I get the fight, if I can get the fight, it was kind of that talk. That same bravado kind of wasn't there, and it's like this is your moment. You actually did what you said you were gonna do. You stopped Hooker. So now this is your moment to do exactly what you said, and this is when the whole world is sitting there, just looking at you and listening to what you got to say, what you can really make a verbal statement afterwards. And he kind of was being really soft with it, and they asked him, "Are you ready? Do are you ready for are you ready for Terrence Crawford?" It's like, well, I don't know if I'm ready or not, but I want the fight. There's a whether I'm ready or not, I want the fight. No, you expect them to say, no, I'm ready and I want this fight now. So again, when people start talking like this, it makes you go back to, are they are they really trying to get these fights, or they just want to stay in the media and they want put themselves into a space where people are talking about them. You got to go right to that. Kind of like not Gary Russell, the same as Ryan Garcia was doing. It was all this talk, but when it came down, now time came, to back it up with actions. He didn't do it. The actions weren't there. Tevin Farmer, all this tank, 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 tank. Then you get offered $2 million, in a pay-per-view bout, and then you back off and you say no. The colors eventually show. So now you have to think about it as like, does he really want to fight these dudes now? Does he truly believe? Clearly, he doesn't truly believe he can beat them, because going by the words, when he was in the moment where he had to make, had to say things right there in front of the guys while they're there, say something in front of them, you know, it's kind of standoffish with it. I don't need to call anybody. I don't need to say anything. People already know what it is. What? This is not the words. This is not the things that we've been hearing from you for a while now. And now when the moment comes, it's, so, I mean, do I, think that he'll be fighting either one of them? Absolutely not. He won't be fighting anybody on that level over the next 2+ years. He won't be fighting anyone on the level of a Danny Garcia, a Sean Porter, a Keith Thurman, nobody of that nature, or Ugas. He's not fighting anyone of that caliber at all. I don't think he'll be fighting a Benavidez at 147 pounds. I don't think he'll be fighting him. I think, he did his little thing, and I think they're going to keep him kind of maybe at this level. But it'll be a good probably 2+ years before they put him in there with anybody. His face was all swole up, even with all swole up, peppered up, So if you're having an issue with someone he's only using a jab pretty much like half time and doesn't know how to necessarily utilize his, his length, and his God-gifted gifts, to the highest of his abilities, and he's still catching you like that to the point where your face is all swole up. Imagine if you have to face someone like a Terrence Crawford, who has that same long reach, who has that same precise punching power. You're in trouble. Imagine facing someone like Earl Spence, who knows how to get in you. You want to fight that type of style, that bang you out style, who knows how to get all up in you. You know what I mean? Knows how to get to that body. Knows how to, catch you with clean shots to the face. Knows how to slip your punches. And you're also wide open when this guy caught you with a couple clean punches. One of these other guys catch you with those same punches. It'll be trouble. So I believe, we have to call it what it is. Just like I said Ryan Garcia is a prospect. And he's somebody who, if he continues to progress, gets his skills better, over the next couple of years, he can be a player in a couple of years. But it's going to take a couple of years for him to get to that level. And he's young, so he can do it. But the persona that they're trying to put out there of him, he's not that right now. Ortiz Jr., same thing. He's a good fighter. He's a real good fighter. And as he continues to progress and get better, he can put himself into a space where later on, he can do something when it pertains to like the champions. But right now, it's not the time. They have an Ellis. He's signed to Golden Boy too. He's a welterweight too. Put those two up against each other. I think that would be a good fight for them. They're both two prospects, both guys that are coming up. I think they should put him against him, step up the competition a little bit, and see how it performs against a real welterweight. Put him up in there. Let's see how it performs against a real welterweight. We've seen, Hook already get knocked out at 140 pounds. So him being stopped is nothing new. We've already seen that happen. So put him up against Ellis. They're both undefeated. And we'll see how they do. If you were to put him up against, let's say, Jaron Ennis right now, it'll be ugly. It'll be real ugly, But he's a kid that does have skill. He is talented, but it's going to take some time. You got to move him up slow, let him continue to learn, let him continue to get better. And, over a period of time, he'll be ready to take on, top competition. By then, the Spencers will be gone. The Crawfords will be gone. They'll all be out of there. They'll be gone. So then, he can pretty much fight against his contemporaries instead. Ennis will probably be running the division by that time. But you fight against your contemporaries, and he can do something then, and he can become a champion then. But right now, it's just not the time for him. He has a lot of work to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people it takes them 6, 7 years, 8 years of progressing before they into a space where they become a champion, and then they're a champion for a long time, and become Hall of Famers and all that. So just don't push him. Don't push him. And the problem with being in the limelight, and people, talking about you consistently, and when you also urge that on by, you continuously talking as if you're on the same plane, the same space, as these kings of the division, it kind of puts you personally put that pressure on you where people want to see you fight against the best, but we'll see what the future holds for him. But he won't be fighting them dudes anytime soon. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.